Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But today is Friday, the 21st of June 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with our economic performance, especially with the context or in the context of the PSX or the Pakistan Stock Exchange, where the Pakistan Stock Exchange, the KSE 100, saw a huge swing today, crossing the 80,000 barrier with an over 1,250 point gain in the morning before massive profit taking and resistance saw it plummet around 78,300 in the second half of the session. But nevertheless, this is a world first, at least for Pakistan. It's a historical first to have crossed the point of 80,000. We'll be also highlighting different aspects of the stock exchange, the PSX, the KSE 100, and what has led, what are the benchmarks, what are the markers, what are the indicators that have led to a constant increase in the KSE 100 index in the last few months. The index that started its journey from 41,452 points has gone up around 91% to have touched an all-time high of 80,059 points. This is huge for a Pakistani market, and we'll be highlighting different aspects of that in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, will be concerning the upgradation of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. We all know that the phase 2 of the CPEC is about to begin. Now, the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammad Ishaq Dar also met with Mr. Liujianchao, who is the Minister for a Central Committee of the International Department of Communist Party of China. This meeting happened today. We all know that the Excellency is here on a 3-day important official visit. At the same time, when they appreciated the positive contribution of CPEC to Pakistan's socio-economic development and the progress and prosperity, they also underscored that as a flagship project of China's Belt and Road Initiative, CPEC has transformed the energy security. We will be highlighting different aspects of this new phase of CPEC, what will be the important parameters this time, and what has been decided between the two parties to collaborate in during this phase. This is going to be our second story. Then we are going to talk about the murder of a journalist that has happened in Landikotal in Khyber district. On Tuesday, Khaliljibran's vehicle was ambushed in the area and the journalist was sprayed with bullets. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, 4 media personnel have been killed in the month of May alone. Several others have faced different types of violence. We'll be highlighting the sensitivity of this whole issue of the murder of journalists and what needs to be done. Then we'll be talking about the International Day of Yoga that is being observed today. Today is the 21st of June. It is the more or less the height of summer, and this is the day when the International Day of Yoga is being observed since 2014, where on the 11th of December of that year, the United Nations General Assembly had designated June the 21st as the International Day of Yoga. We will also be talking about the World Music Day or the Fête de la Musique, because this whole World Music Day was initiated in France in 1981, where the French Ministry of Culture and music composer Maurice Fleury went on this idea to celebrate World Music Day on the 21st of June. And since then, since 1982, the World Music Day is being celebrated not only in France but also in 120 other countries. This is going to be our last story. So let's begin without further ado with our first story, and that concerns economy of Pakistan, the PSX, KSE 100 index, and how the different parameters have led to the KSE 100 index surging past the 80,000 benchmark, a benchmark never seen before in Pakistan's history. We've been joined by two guests, but we'll begin with our first guest, Dr. Niaz Murtaza. He's a political economist. Dr. Niaz, thank you very much to have joined us. When you see this bullish trend, Dr. Niaz, of the Pakistan Stock Exchange, of the KSE 100 index crosses 80,000, goes to 80,059, never have we seen in Pakistan's history such an increase as far as Pakistan Stock Exchange or the KSE 100 index is concerned. What do you attribute this historical high to?
Well, I guess to look at this historical height, we need to look at the history of the stock exchange a little bit for the last 5-6 years. And as you may remember, there was a similar burst of activity back in 2016 and 17 when the index had climbed very fast and it had reached 54,000 in 2017. But then, 2017 onwards, for several years, like good 5-6 years, the index just languished in the 40,000 range, sometimes going to 42, 45. It even went down to, the high 20s, when COVID-19 hit. And then after that, it had settled in the mid 40s for several years. So all of that was due to several reasons. One, the political instability. Secondly, the economic instability and the multiple crises that we had, one after the another, beginning in 2018. And then, there were also natural, events like COVID-19 and then the 2022 floods. So now what you see is that, all of those things are appearing in your rear view mirror. And for the first time in many years, the stock exchange sees some sort of, political stability, as well as, some economic stability that we've been seeing for the last several months, in the form of, stable exchange rate, current account deficit going down, inflation starting to go down in the last 2 or 3 months, and the last IMF deal, and now the chance that there might be another IMF deal. So what it does show is that, there was this pent up emotion within the market, and that could not be released because of all these issues that I mentioned. And now, that exuberance is now coming out. Then there's also the fact that, the budget has put some restrictions on, money going into real estate easily. There have been some taxes introduced. So, a variety of factors coming in together to build some momentum in the stock exchange.
All right. Also, Niaz, Murtaza, I'd like to understand, some of the analysts are saying on different media reports, on different newspapers, that the reason for increase in the index is are the steps that have been taken in the budget this year and after the budget, and of course the possibility of paving the way for a major loan program with the IMF, and all the conditionalities are more or less being met with. It is also being said that due to this possibility, domestic and foreign investment in the stock exchange has also increased, which has led to the KSE 100 index reaching this high. What steps have been taken as far as the budget 2024-2025 is concerned for such a increase as far as the KSE 100 index is concerned?
Well, I think the most important step is that, IMF was expecting, a reduction in the fiscal deficit and the primary deficit through increased taxation and some reduction in expenses. So the budget that has been, presented, that provides some basis for thinking that, this will narrow down the fiscal deficit. It will also, not put too much pressure on the current account deficit, and inflation will remain, going down as it has been. And then there've also been, some report from, these agencies like Finch, etc., Standard and Poor, and so on, which have given the indication that the budget may make it, possible for Pakistan to soon, strike a deal with IMF, and I believe that will start as soon as, the budget is passed by the end of June. Beginning, early July, we should see some activity on, the IMF deal being signed. A lot of, ground was already covered. So now, there is this chance for the government to, use that stability to try to bring about, longer term reforms which can give you sustained growth, higher productivity, higher exports. And if all those steps are taken, then, we can expect this momentum in the stock exchange to, continue for a few years.
All right, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, kindly stay online with us. We've also been joined by Zafar Moti. He is a PSX expert. Zafar Moti sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Before we go to the obvious question, that is the KSE 100 index, Dr. Niaz Murtaza talked about the rating agencies Moody's and Fitch, who have made a positive forecast for Pakistan's economy, as well as the Pakistan and the IMF program, and that is why the KSE 100 index a lot of analysts say is surging to the heights it is. How important do you feel this budget A has been for the IMF program, and how important has this budget been also for the surge in the KSE 100 index?
Well, this budget is most likely whatever IMF demanded, we have been able to protect ourselves, but we have met their demands. And because of that, the market is showing that the new tranche of IMF deals will continue with Pakistan. And since we are off the hook of bankruptcy, IMF has been our lender of last resort. We've been able to push economy towards the right side. But there is a lot of time that will go on for the economy to turn around. Still, we are in the what you call initial stage, and I believe that as we progress and the economy makes a turnaround, then this stock exchange will perform much better.
All right, but let's talk about the KSE 100 index, Zafar Moti Saab, and the number 80,059 has never been heard before as far as Pakistan Stock Exchange is concerned. It started with 37,851 points. It started, it has gained around 37,851 points, started its journey from 41,452 points, or up by almost 91%, which is a record high. What do you attribute this in such humongous increase or a number never seen before as far as the KSE 100 index is concerned?
The profitability of the companies which are listed in our stock exchange has increased because and their payouts are amazing. That's the first sign. Then again, we have to see that the economy is turned around and we shying away from the bankruptcy was the second reason. Then again, monetary policies increase was going on, and for a couple of monetary policies, we maintained 22%, which has now decreased to 20.5%. 150 basis was 50 basis points were motivated by the government to decrease. But the Aurangzeb Saab said that all central banks in the world are shying away from decreasing the interest rate because any untoward incident which will hit upon the world, and if they keep on going downward and suddenly that thing happens economically around the world, the central bank will have difficulties to increase it back. So 150 basis point was also a pushing high anticipation of investors, and that's why our market with the PE multiples of 2.5 and 3 has increased to 4.5. And this sign, all these reasons, plus budget being accepted by everybody, is a right direction for the capital market as well as for the economy.
Let's stay on live with us, Zafar Moti Saab. Coming to you, Dr. Niaz. Murtaza, I'd like to understand, do you feel steps such as downward inflation, such as interest rates, trajectory and flows converting from a fixed income to equities have helped the stocks rise in the Pakistan Stock Exchange, which has led to this figure of 80,059?
Yes, of course, when the interest rates go down, the return on your fixed term deposits, etc., that goes down. And so, a lot of people then switch over to the stock exchange. Similarly, the restrictions on real estate, the taxes, those have all also helped. And if interest rates keep going down in the future, then, that should, give more momentum to the market. Now, of course, you also need to look at in reducing interest rates, what impact it will have on your current account deficit, because our, the foreign reserves are still fairly low. So that is another, immediate challenge for the government to make sure that we get, foreign investment, more, deposits, etc. so that our foreign reserves go up. Because the reason why our current account deficit has been so low partly is because there's still so many restrictions on imports, on profit repatriation, and if you allow those to increase to up the growth rate, then there is a risk that your current account deficit could go up. So the best thing would be to make sure that your reserves are high enough to absorb this increased need for foreign exchange reserves that is bound to occur in the coming months once your growth rate starts increasing and some of these restrictions on foreign outflows of dollars are removed. So there's still a lot of challenges, and it's going to require a lot of very strong economic management from the government to sort of square all the different triangles that we have: the current account deficit, the fiscal deficit, inflation. All these things have to be managed very, very properly, and we need a sound economic policy to make sure that not only we maintain stability, economic stability, but then we also go towards the path of growth, and not just the path of growth, but of sustained growth, which is based on increased investment and productivity rather than increases in fiscal deficits, money supply, and current account deficits, because that kind of growth is very short term and it results in a crisis.
Dr. Niaz Murtaza, also it is being said that investors are optimistic as far as the macroeconomic stability in Pakistan is concerned, because they say it is going to create a favorable environment for monetary easing, and that this subsequently reduces the required rate of return for the investors in the equity market. Also, it is also being indicated that the scarcity of other profitable investment opportunities, for example in the real estate or in the commodity sector, is also driving the recent KSE 100 rally. Do you agree with these statements?
Well, I think what we need is a strategy which helps investment go into the right sectors, the most productive sectors, which have the potential to increase your output, your exports, and your job market the most. Because there's been a tendency in the last few years for investment to go into unproductive sectors like real estate, the informal market, and so on. So that requires proper economic management again, so that the government gives incentives for those sectors, especially for small and medium enterprises, which can give you the most jobs and the most exports and the most sustained growth. So investment definitely, and then the other challenge is to increase your saving rate, because that's also very low, and that's one of the main reasons why our investment GDP ratio is so low compared to even India and Bangladesh, is that our saving rate is so low. So to tap into all the different kind of informal forms of savings that people have, which might be in the form of real estate, gold, just cash that they have with them, that should all be tapped so that it goes into from saving into investment, and investment into the most productive sectors of the economy.
All right, now I'd like to refer you to two important sectors that have been plaguing Pakistan's economy more or less. A, climate change. We've seen the floods, we've seen how that affects Pakistan's economy. COVID-19, energy crisis that also burdens Pakistan's economy. The fiscal year budget for 2024-2025 has been an opportunity that can be used for course correction. Do you feel that this year's financial outlay addresses these most pressing issues to have some kind of a hope for a brighter or a more sustainable future for Pakistan?
Well, the problem with the constraint that the government faces is that, that fiscal space is so limited. If you look at this year's budget, the outlay is substantial. It's about 18 trillion rupee budget. But if you look at, the details, 52% of that is going into, just debt repayment. So, you are just left with 48% for all your other expenditures that you need in terms of, the transfers to the provinces, defense, then the federal government machinery, the development budget. So that is the constraint that the government has faced. But within those constraints, there are definitely a few incentives that have been given rightly. And now the challenge is to bring in investment so that the funds available from the government's own pocket can be complemented from investment coming in and going into those kind of investment channels where it can help Pakistani economy in the long run.
Thank you very much, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, political economist, who have joined us, who have talked to us, of course, about this wonderful increase as far as the PSX or the KSE 100 index is concerned, which we've never seen in Pakistan history. Let's hope this trend continues. Finally, Zafar Moti Saab, I'd like to understand something about market capitalization that, as far as the latest reports go, has increased to almost 4,052 billion. The index in dollar terms is up by nearly 15 billion US dollars, with the market cap that has reached 37 billion US dollars, up by 61%. Some people say that the tax on the real estate sector in the budget, the trend of transferring capital from the sector to the stock exchange has also been recorded, due to which the stock market is bullish. Adding to this, what do you feel, sir, are the macro and microeconomic indicators behind this bullish drift?
Well, as you said that in the budget we were left aside by the government because we are already too much taxed also. Micro level, you could say, as I told you, that the companies are doing very well. Results are mind-blowing. Profits of those companies are coming up with handsome, huge dividends. Macro level, the political crisis which was brewing has been settled down by this new government, which is a good sign for the economy to turn around. And macro level, the position of Pakistan in SIFC and CPEC and with American Corporation, we are again ready to go. And this shows the confidence in the investor. Although before budget, there were a few rumors which were circulated by some people from Lahore, which was indicated by Ali Malik Parvez also, about huge capital gain taxes and all that, which made the market to go down to 72,000 also. But when the budget was opened up and when the budget speech was ended, everybody knew that the market will turn around, and it showed its strength, because still our market is one of the cheapest in the region with 4.5% P multiple ratios, which is quite low for this region also. Now, if we allow the imports, and when we open up the windows of imports, the dollar rupee stability should be there, parity should be as it is right now, and if we allow imports, the current account deficit will also increase again. But if we are able to handle it, and if government is able to sustain some amount of imports, which is essential goods, and the dollar rupee parity will stable here where it is right now, you'll see that market will do much further, much better.
Thank you very much, Zafar Moti Saab, PSX expert, who have journalists who have discussed different aspects of this increase in the KSE index to 80,059 by midday today, which is a historic record. We have never seen Pakistan's stock exchange go to these heights. Let's hope, let's wish, and let's pray for this level of increase to continue in the same bullish trend. Let's come to our second segment, and that concerns the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and the upgradation of the CPEC. This has been highlighted many a times in the recent visits and in the recent interactions between the Pakistani and the Chinese leadership. We all know our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Saab was in China some time back, where he had very important interactions, and this whole second phase of the CPEC was also a very important part of those discussions. And now also Liujianchao is the Minister for Central Committee of the International Department of Communist Party of China, is in Islamabad on a 3-day important visit, and he has met with our Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mr. Ishaq Dar, and the same sentiment has also been echoed as far as how to take the CPEC along. We've been joined by two guests. Let me talk to them one by one. In the studios, we've been joined by Syed Hassan Gillani. Hassan is an economic reporter for PTV World, and I saw your brilliant report on this very visit of the Chinese minister, which I thought highlighted a lot of aspects of this visit. And our second guest online is Zoon Ahmed Khan. He's a fellow for the Center for China and Globalization. Thank you very much, Zoon, to have joined us and to have been part of it. We'll begin with you. Hassan, the Minister of Central Committee of the International Department of Communist Party of China, liujianchao, says today that China is determined to build an upgraded version of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Not the first time that it has been said, it has also been said while our Prime Minister was in China. He was, of course, addressing this joint presser along with our Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Ishaq Dar. He said China will extend full cooperation to Pakistan for the timely implementation of all ongoing and new CPEC projects. Timely and implementation is a very key word, which I feel. He also underscored that China is committed to working with Pakistan to add further substance and scope to bilateral ties. Again, substance and scope to bilateral ties, I feel, is a very important comment. How important are these statements, in your point of view, for the second phase of CPEC, also for Pak-China relations?
Indeed. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Omar, for having me. I think it's a very crucial moment for both Pakistan and China in the history of their bilateral relations, because this particular visit is taking place at a time when Pakistan is passing through a very crucial phase in terms of giving a kickstart to its economy and also making sure that the pace of socio-economic development is accelerated. Now, we have to look at the background first. The strategic dialogue that started between Pakistan and China took place in May, when Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mr. Ishaq Dar paid a visit to China. It was then when it was agreed that the two countries are going to upgrade the existing level of cooperation under the umbrella of CPEC. Now, what exactly do we mean by upgradation? When we say upgradation, we mean broadening the scope of cooperation under the umbrella of CPEC. How? It is by actually modernizing Pakistan's agriculture sector with the cooperation of China and also revitalizing Pakistan's energy sector. Now, first of all, we have to adopt the mechanism that China has been following in its country by mechanizing all its agriculture sector, by multiple cropping and using modern techniques. Exactly. And Pakistan, as you know, has seen 6.25 growth in agriculture sector this year. China is in need of food. China is the greatest importer or the biggest importer of food from all over the world. If it works in Pakistan and China collaborate in the agriculture sector, it is going to be a win-win situation for both of us. Coming to the energy side, we are basically trying to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and rely more on green energy. At present, China is working on multiple projects with us on promotion of green energy, including the hydropower project of Dasu, then Konar hydropower project, and lots of other power projects too. So this particular visit by the Minister of the Chinese Communist Party is actually aimed at weighing the feasibility and practicality of those 32 MOUs that were signed during the visit of Pakistani Prime Minister to China early this month. And the results of that visit are coming across even before we were expecting those to be. So it's a very important visit in terms of not just giving an impetus to the existing level of cooperation, but also incorporating new projects in the face of these 32 MOUs that we have signed.
Of course, and those MOUs have also been quite important and also include MOUs on the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Zoon, coming to you, the Minister for Central Committee of the International Department of Communist Party of China, Mr. Liujianchao, says something that I'd like to quote and understand your perspective on it. He says the determination of the Pakistani and the Chinese leaders to strengthen the all-weather strategic cooperative partnership with Pakistan, quote unquote, sends out a clear political signal to the rest of the world that the Pak-China relationship is unbreakable. He also has said that both countries enjoy a very solid foundation. There are great prospects of synergizing development strategies and strengthen the mutually beneficial cooperation. Has the message been well received by the world? Has it been properly given to the world? And there are different, aspects to it: geostrategic, geopolitical, geoeconomic. What's your take on that?
Okay, thank you firstly for having me on the program. I think, I've lived now in Beijing for what's almost 9 years. And what I can say for a fact is that definitely the way China perceives Pakistan, and that perception, that closeness, that deep level of political trust that we share is mutual. And even, for example, it was 2015, the year that I moved to Beijing in April, that the first phase during President Xi's visit to Pakistan, the first phase of the $46 billion investment in energy, transportation, special economic zones, and Gwadar port infrastructure was announced. So we know that the political relationship over decades, examples from back in the 1960s, 70s up until now, only validate that we really have a deep political bond, trust, and we are two countries that have, through our bilateral engagement, through multilateral engagement, and through the international legal order, always sought to strengthen global governance and send out a message that we are pro connectivity, development, betterment, and good relations, friendly, good neighborly relations, as China also puts it in their foreign policy. And of course, I mean, here, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is a very important manifestation of this relationship. And I think the fact that, we have seen consistency from both sides, from the Chinese side, the commitment to develop CPEC, the first phase was obviously more about government to government relations. We have seen 50 major projects come to completion, $26 billion already invested in Pakistan. This is already, a big signal that we support each other, and the region, faces different complications, and all of that. We stand by each other and we support each other. Now, coming to the strength of this relationship, I think one of the most important things in international relations, in the deepening of relationships between countries, is from the government to government, which we as China Pakistan are very privileged to have a deep commitment. We are transitioning now towards the business to business and the people to people. And this is important because what we really want as Pakistan is development. Development means better lives for our people. This is ultimately the vision for the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. When we initially announced the first phase, which was about better infrastructure in energy, transportation, economic zones, Gwadar port, I mean, all of that, really what it boils down to is how well can the Pakistani economy run? How many jobs can we provide? What kind of livelihood can we give to our people? How can the socio-economic realities of Pakistan improve? And I think that really what the most important message, apart from the political message, which is significant for countries, for regions that are trying to sabotage our mutual efforts, a very important message side by side is that we are deeply committed to make sure that Pakistan develops, and China and Pakistan's development is mutual. It is mutually, it's inclusive. It's not a zero-sum mindset. We know that the deeper we cooperate with China, the more Pakistanis and Chinese people, they engage with each other, realize that through investment, through collaboration, your previous guest also mentioned a few factors, through that mutual engagement, we will grow together. And I think this is a very important factor. And I think, yes, we have a lot to learn from China's development, and Pakistan will have its unique path. So yes, we are on a very good track. The world's perception about our relations is also, as you mentioned, as was mentioned by in the statement you quoted, is that we are moving towards deeper relations, and relations that are not harmful, but really talk about betterment and connectivity on a broader level.
True, Zoon, because if you remember well, our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, when he was in China very recently, he also said that Pakistan would like to emulate the Chinese development model. So you talked about right now, while answering my question, you were talking about how Pakistan needs to take as an example the Chinese way of bettering itself, and I think the development model is a good example as far as that is concerned. Stay online with us. Hassan, coming to you, people to people contact is something that has been mentioned time and again as one of the factors that both countries benefit from, and that the mutual avenues of cooperation like CPEC get strengthened by. Do you feel also that this Pakistan-China joint consultative mechanism is also an important mechanism through which the cooperation between both these countries can further strengthen? We've had meetings in 2019, in 2020 virtually because of COVID, and now, of course, this is the minister is here, Chinese minister is here to co-chair the third meeting of Pakistan-China joint consultative mechanism, which will be focusing on the CPEC projects. What's your take on that?
Absolutely. As the name suggests, it takes into account a holistic, number of aspects of the relationship that China and Pakistan have. And as the co-panelists just mentioned, that now the second phase that we're just about to work on will be focusing more on people-to-people contact and B2B contact. The G2G contact has been there, of course, in the first phase, and now in the second phase, we are seeing more focus on B2B contact and the people-to-people contact. Now, how is this going to happen? IT is one sector where there lies immense potential of cooperation between Pakistan and China. Pakistan's IT exports this year has been $3.5 billion, and Pakistan has the third largest market in the world of freelancers. So China and Pakistan can help each other in this particular sphere. This can help Pakistan generate lots of job opportunities for its youth, because we are earning billions of dollars in terms of our IT exports. So there lies immense potential. And Pakistan's finance minister has also said that since there is such an immense potential in the field of IT, and China and Pakistan can of course work together on that, that Pakistan does not actually need to create job opportunities at the state level for the people of Pakistan. The people of Pakistan, especially the youth, can generate job opportunities for themselves on their own. And this is, I've spoken to a lot of people who have been working with CPEC and other projects, and they have mentioned that in this particular consultative mechanism discussion, IT is going to be one of the main sectors that is going to be featuring prominently in discussions between Pakistani officials and of course the visiting Chinese delegation, because Pakistan and China are very keen to cooperate in the field of IT. IT is one sector that the government of Pakistan is banking largely upon to promote growth, because what is CPEC? CPEC is basically a corridor of growth, corridor of opportunities, corridor of development, corridor of prosperity. And how is that going to happen? When we promote people-to-people contact by offering our intellectual services to China and seeking China's help in terms of developing our capability when it comes to information technology or technical advancement or artificial intelligence and lots of other areas.
All right. Zoon, coming to you, our Deputy Prime Minister and our Minister for Foreign Affairs, of course, delivering his speech at the China-Pakistan Political Parties Forum and the third meeting of the CPEC Political Parties Joint Consultative Mechanism in Islamabad, referring also to a PM's visit to China, says there were renewed consensus on the upgradation of the corridor project. And therein he added that the government was prioritizing the industry, the modern agriculture, the IT sector, and mining and minerals as the sectors of importance. Are these sectors going to be the hallmarks of the phase 2 of CPEC, or are we going to see more and more sectors being added to the phase 2 within the coming months?
Thank you for that question. I think, one of the things to realize is that actually the phase 2 is really about two things: capacity building, value addition, to really, have benefits to society at large. And as was also mentioned by the previous speaker, I think we can understand that in the end, the purpose of a country is to improve, its people's capacity to generate better livelihood and to improve the economy. This is something that we have been striving to achieve. This is what the phase 1 was always about. And also, actually, back in 2017, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, as Chief Minister, was visiting China and organizing roadshows so that we could attract Chinese businesses to come and invest in the envisioned special economic zones of CPEC. So phase 2 has been on the cards for a very long time. That said, I think the current industries that have been mentioned, especially agriculture, IT, industrialization is very, very important as well. I think we don't mention it enough, because industrialization is the solid base. I mean, today where China is moving towards higher, more sophisticated manufacturing sector, it's because they were able to industrialize and not just invest in the service sector many decades ago. So that is also something that is a core priority. And of course, minerals. And what I currently know is that some of the Chinese, companies, some of the state-owned enterprises have also given specific suggestions to the government on which sectors to include in specific special economic zones. So when we talk about the prioritized sectors, we also know that while we are thinking value addition and capacity building, then let's learn from China's unique expertise. Every region of China developed differently. Let's see what are the commonalities between the particular sectors that we want to develop and which parts of China, which policies flourished. So this is something that we are working on. And I do think, I mean, coming to your, after this backdrop, coming to the main question, can these sectors evolve? Absolutely. The main thing about CPEC, and not just CPEC, the Belt and Road Initiative strategy at large, whether we see through FOCAC, Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, or Central Asian countries, or East Asia, everywhere in the world, this initiative has evolved. So let's say that today, yes, we see IT as a major sector. We know that Huawei has already committed to 100,000 trainings. This can happen over 5-10 years. Again, that will also be our planning on how we enable that. We know that agriculture we are already working on. This is a sector that employs a majority of Pakistan's workforce. It has socioeconomic benefits as well. We want to be more food security sufficient. This is an important sector. Minerals, again, Pakistan is mineral rich, and industry, we have the capacity. Let's attract industries. Let's attract businesses. I would say that while we talk about these sectors, we also need to learn from the successful examples of other countries that have been able to attract Chinese and other industries in the BRI-related special economic zones that have been established. So, for example, there are many East Asian countries, many countries in the African continent. Let's compare and contrast. You know, our special economic zones, our industrialization plan. What policies have been working for different countries in the world, and should we be, like recently CCG and IPRI, we co-hosted a webinar, and one of my speakers, the Chinese side, his suggestion, for example, to Pakistan was that you can target, you know, if you hear about, let's do some research work, which provinces in China are looking to relocate, which chambers of commerce are looking to have businesses who are looking to relocate in other countries. Let's go to them and let's show them Pakistan's investment opportunities. So we need to have a more targeted.
That's a wonderful comment, initiative. I hope this translates into action and more collaboration in and adding more and more avenues, and adding our media, adding our youth, adding our think tanks, our academia to further give impetus to this strong collaboration between Pakistan and China. Thank you very much, Zoon. We are a bit short of time, or else we would have continued our discussion with you, but thank you so very much to have joined us to talk about this very important aspect of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Coming back to you, and my last question concerns a remark by the Minister for Planning and Development, Hassan. Quoting him, how does this phase 2 of CPEC aim to enhance Pakistan's manufacturing capacity through industrial cooperation, attracting Chinese investment, and relocating industrial units to special economic zones, something that Zoon has mentioned?
First of all, we have to understand that there's a lag time before any activity is implemented. Some observers are questioning the vitality of the MOU signed between Pakistan and China, saying that, okay, MOU have been signed, but that does not commit or sort of force China to work with Pakistan in a certain area. First of all, we have to see whether we have the absorbing capacity or the readiness to actually implement those projects or not. It's just a matter of 2 months that now Pakistan is finally entering from the discussion phase into the implementation phase. As your question about the industrialization, SEZs, the
relocation of industrial units to SEZs.
Absolutely. And SEZs is something which is going to give a kickstart to Pakistan's industrial growth, because this is something where the government and the private sector, or the private sector solely, are going to work in terms of establishing industries in different parts of the country. This is not just going to increase Pakistan's manufacturing efficacy and ability, but also create umpteen number of job opportunities for the people of Pakistan, and this is where the cooperation between people to people actually crop up.
Thank you very much, Syed Hassan, Gillani, economic reporter, PTV World, who have joined us, and I hope you continue to make such wonderful reports on economic issues and Pak-China relations, as you always do. Thank you very much for having joined us. Let's come to our last 3 stories very quickly. The first concerns another murder of another journalist that has happened very recently in Landikotal in Khyber district. Khaliljibran's vehicle was ambushed there, and the journalist was sprayed with bullets. No group has yet claimed responsibility for this crime, but as per the PFUJ, Gibran had been facing threats from terrorists. The place where he was operating from, of course, was known for its militant activity. There seems to be an uptick as far as the violence against media persons in recent months is concerned. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, 4 media personnel have been killed in the month of May alone, while several others have faced different forms of violence. The CPJ also says 64 journalists have been killed in Pakistan since 1992 in connection with their work. Other counts put the number closer to 110. Pakistan also ranks 11th on the CPJ's Global Impunity Index, indicating the sad fact that those who kill or harm journalists in the country rarely get caught. This is where we maybe as a whole of a nation need to come together to work towards this, to protect our media personnel, to protect our journalistic community, and that includes myself also. I'm part of that community as well. We need to evolve strategies by ourselves also to protect as much our brethren as much as possible. Finally, also our second segment concerns the International Day of Yoga that is also being observed today. This year marks the 10th International Day of Yoga with the theme Yoga for Self and Society. What is yoga? It is a transformative practice which represents the harmony of mind and body, the balance between thought and action, and the unity of restraint and fulfillment. Finally, today, ladies and gentlemen, is also the World Music Day, or the Fête de la Musique. Why is the term in French? Because it was in France in 1981 when Jacques Lang, the French Minister of Culture, with music composer Maurice Fleuret, who was a radio producer and a music journalist, proposed the idea of celebrating a day that was dedicated to music. From 1982 onwards, on this very day, on the 21st of June, the World Day of Music is celebrated, where musicians from different parts of the world get together in different countries across the world, where around more than 120 countries celebrate the World Music Day and celebrate the beauty, the strength, and the collaboration of music. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you inshallah on Monday. Allah Hafiz.